What's up, everybody? Hope all is well. I was doing some work on my kid's room, my kid's room, doing some painting. I ended up doing some scraping of the popcorn ceiling there, so I'm absolutely famous. I actually brought a machine to do it, get up there and take the popcorn ceiling down, but I ended up just using good old-fashioned elbow grease, my hands, because the machine was just getting in the way and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes hands and feet will get it done. All right, so I want to do what we can learn from the Predator movie, and I thought it was a very, very, very good movie. I thought it was a very good movie. In line with the best Predator movies, I would probably say it's number 2 for me. That's Predator movies. Predator number 1 was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think this one was number 2. Alien vs. Predator, which I really, really liked. I don't know why it doesn't get them more respect with that. With Sanaa Lathan would be 3rd. I even liked that one more than I liked Predator 2 with Danny Glover. But these are all really, really close movies as far as likability. But they were just, this movie, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie, I could watch it over and over and over again. It was just that good. After Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably number 5 would be Prey. I forgot about Prey. Yeah, so Prey was good, and then probably, I definitely like Prey better than Adrian Brody's movie with Badlands, when they went to the alien planet. Lawrence Fishburne was in that too. Anyway, so I don't want to go on about that, but some key thoughts that I wanted to say about this particular movie. So some of the key things in this movie was about family. So the movie starts off with the protagonist, whose name is Dek, and the species is called the Yautja, which I didn't know. And I'm not into the comic books or reading or anything like that. So this is me just as a movie watcher. So there may be some things in the comic books. And I do know they tried to have the Predator fight against, I think, Batman. I think Batman, maybe even Wolverine, different iterations. I can't be sure. But anyway, a major theme about this was who's family and who's not. Now, the Yautja are the species of predators that go around from planet to planet hunting the biggest game possible and making a name out of themselves because they go around there hunting. And their warrior code, their hunting code, their predacious code trumps family. And that was something that our protagonist here, Dek, really took to heart, right? Family, it was a code above all. And he understood how dangerous that was when his own father was about to have him killed by his brother. So again, starting off with the movie, we see Dek about to have a battle with his brother, and they're fighting because his brother wants to make sure that he is capable, able, and strong enough to go out there and choose the prey as his rite of passage in order to become a member of the warrior clan and get his cloak. We would think as a cloak, kind of a cape kind of thing. Their cloak was an actual physical cloak that turned them invisible so they could hunt their prey. So before they got that ability to be hunting, they had to have that ability to do it raw, hands down, with just their brains, their brawn, and whatever, without anything else. And I was going to say this for later, but actually I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the family is important because his brother wants to make sure that he's in line with that. Family is important because his father doesn't think he is capable. He's a runt. He should be culled, C-U-L-L-E-D, or put aside, killed, offed. So his bloodlines does not continue with the family. He's looked at as weak and less than. He's shorter than the rest of, smaller than the rest of the clan. Than the rest of the predators. He doesn't even look like the rest of them. Most of them had this crest on their head. Maybe, I don't know if that comes with age or whatever, but he didn't have that. Our Dek I'm talking about. So he just looked different, but he had enough heart. He had the heart, he had the skills, he had the abilities, he had the tenacity to go for it, despite his quote unquote physical limitations. So he kept going. So family is a big storyline in this. Next one is to the tenacity. And that's another thing I want men to understand is their tenacity. Understand your family is important. Understand tenacity is important. No matter what people say about your physical limitations, because you haven't gone to school, because it took you, 3-4 times to take a test, to pass the bar, to get your barber's license, to pass electrical school or whatever, whatever, those phases are to, to get your electrician's license. Doesn't matter. You keep going. You keep going. You fail, you fall down, you keep going, right? And all that. So tenacity and family values were major themes in this. If you follow, another major theme was to learn to use your brains. If you follow the predator mythos, you understand that they are given, as I mentioned, a cloak to become invisible, to hunt. Oh, I forgot to mention, talking about the best Predator movies, I forgot to mention the one on Hulu, the cartoon, Predator, Killer of Killers. I hope this movie doesn't get me demonetized saying all this stuff, but Killer of Killer was phenomenal too. So if you have Hulu, go watch that. I think it's on Hulu or it's on Netflix, one of those two. Anyway, so great movie. Or series, TV shows, I should say. Great job with both of those. Both of those came out this year. Killer of Killers. But the ability to use your brain. So he's on this. So Deck, our protagonist here, his brother stands up for him against his father, because his father wants his brother to kill him because he's weak. Brother doesn't kill him, tells him, go out there, hunt your prey. He's going after the biggest, baddest things that we know about in the universe, which is called a Kalisk. So his brother's brother, he wants to go after that. Deck wants to go after that. His brother's name is Quelly or Kiwi or something like that. It wants to encourage him to do that. Again, with the theme of tenacity, his brother and his Deck and his brother Kelly or Quelly or whatever were having a fight in a cave. And because his brother's trying to make sure he's ready, and Deck loses that fight, and he says, "Do you yield?" And he says, "Never." He never backs down. Physical limitations be damned. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep trying. Right? So you got to keep pushing and keep trying. And so he says never, and he doesn't give up. Let me tell a quick story here about my own tenacity story. When I was in the police academy, right? So we had to, there's all these different physical, right? The first part of the academy is all the academic work, right? PowerPoint presentations, going over laws of arrest, search and seizure, all this other, type of stuff that people have to learn as police officers. When you can make an arrest, how much force you can use, case laws. We're studying all that. It can become very boring for people. I actually enjoyed a lot of it, right? When you can pull people over, motor vehicle laws and arrest and all that kind of stuff. So then we get to the fun part, which is being tased. Actually, we weren't tased. Actually, we had to go through. We got to get OC sprayed, and we had to go to driving, swimming, obviously firearms qualifications, right? So we had to do all that. So and I was already a pretty physical guy, but the driving for whatever reason just took me out. It was hot. When we went through our police academy, it was the middle of summer when we went there. We started in June, so we were there in July and August, and then even a lot of times in September. We didn't graduate, I think, until like October. And so I can't remember. Yeah, did we graduate in October? Yeah, somewhere around there, September, October, something like that. So we're in the police academy, right? So we're doing this type of thing. So we had to go through this. We had to go to this old abandoned airport and drive around and do skids and donuts and, practice driving code 3. That's lights and sirens going on fast and skidding and this and that and, spatial surrounding where cars are at and when we can do stuff. And we're sitting in the car. So it was one driver. The instructor was in the other seat, passenger seat, and the two of us are sitting in the back. And I'm getting sick. It's hot. The windows are down. I don't think our car had air conditioning for whatever reason. So the windows are down, so we're trying to get air. We're skidding. I'm breathing in all this asphalt and the fumes and exhaust and stuff. I was getting sick. I got motion sick. So it comes to my turn to drive. I'm sick as a dog. My head is spinning. So I drive it and I fail. And as I'm failing, right? So I drive it and then I fail. So the instructor says to me, listen, we'll give you another chance to take it. It's a timed test, right? Like 90 seconds or whatever. I don't know what it was. I think it was like 90 seconds. Drive this obstacle course. Don't hit any cones. Spin out. There's a lady with a crossing the street with a carriage. Don't hit her, right? All this, it was crazy. And it wasn't a physical lady. It was like a cardboard cutout of a lady. So you can't hit her. Can't hit any cones. If you hit one cone, it's over. You fail. So we had to do that. And then, of course, again, I fail. I hit it, or I didn't do it within a time limit or something like that. I can't remember. And then the instructor tells me, listen, you did it good, but, just whatever, you failed, but we'll give you another chance to take it. But if you do it and fail, then you'll have to do this whole thing again. Now, by the whole thing, he meant the instruction portion, which was PowerPoint presentations. It's like 3 or 4 hours of sitting through that PowerPoint presentation plus the driving portion again. I'm like, oh man, but now you're under pressure because everybody's looking at you, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll do it again. So I do it again and I pass it the second time. And so I remember him just sitting next to me. He's sitting in the driver's seat. So I put my head in the steering wheel. I was sick. He's like, that took big balls. And then the two people that are sitting behind me, they're hitting me on the shoulder. Like, yeah, that was it. I'm like, oh my God. Then I got the car and yacked. But my point is, have tenacity, you got to go for it, and people are looking at you, people are counting on you, people believe in you, and you got to do it. You got to do it, right? Same thing, right? And so, you got to go through stuff. And I remember, we had to walk through an OC spray. They didn't spray us in the face, but we had to walk through a cloud of it. And first I'm like, this ain't so bad. But by the time we got to the end of the cloud, like this big mist of stuff, we were all just hacking and it was crazy. All of us, snot all over the place and stuff, but we had to go through it. And there was a rite of passage for all of us to go through that. And then when we got tasers, they tasered every single person in the police department. Now, it wasn't mandatory. And I remember this was a big stink because, people made a big stink because like, oh, why do we got to get tasers? Why do we got to get, because we don't hit each other with batons. We don't shoot each other with shots to know what it feels like. So why do we got to go through that? And of course, the philosophy at the time was that, you should be less apt to use that because you understand the potential power that it's going to give. But again, the counter argument to that was we don't shoot people. We don't shoot each other in the academy. We're not doing all that. We're not hitting each other with batons. So why are we making go through that? So, but anyway, it became a pressure point. It became a pressure point, a social point that if you want to be part of this group, you got to go through this. So at the time, I think it was a lieutenant or a captain. No, we get the tasers. All new recruits had to go through it. So there started being rumblings like, how come these cops right now don't have to go through it? So everybody in the police department went through it. Got tasered. And of course, I'm like, I'm trying to hold out. And I'm sitting one day. I was a captain at the time. I'm sitting one day in the office, and this guy comes and says, "Yeah," they're talking about it. He's like, "Hey Hunter, you ever been to you've been to the taser, right?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, "Nah, I haven't been." So he's like, all right, we'll set it up. We'll do it with you tomorrow. He's like laughing about it. I'm like, all right, you can't back down, right? Got to lead from the front. So I got tased. And did all the stuff that everybody else has to do. So I mean, this is a rites of passage that people go through, and I think in some instances it can be healthy. It can help to form cohesive bonds, to a band of brothers type of thing, right? So I don't know. I think it was a Greek thing that a Spartan saying that I come across. I think it was. I'm not gonna look it up, but it's a saying that says, if somebody stands behind you, protect them. In other words, if somebody's behind you, some people are standing behind you, protect them. They're standing beside you, you respect them. And if they are standing before you, then you defeat them. So what that means is people who are behind you, women, children, the weak, the elderly, the infirm somehow, You protect them. I guess, if a woman is in the military or in police department or whatever, then if she's got somebody behind her, she ought to be in a protection role as well. Building camaraderie, because it's important, because you have to build camaraderie with the people that are beside you. And this is what Deck had to do. This is what we had to do in the police academy. It's what we had to do with driving, right? You're building that level of camaraderie. I had to clean out some storage. I actually kind of forgot my frame of thinking where I was coming from with that. But anyway, you got to do that, right? So big major ideas concerning this movie are family, tenacity, and that's a level of tenacity, standing up for the weak, all that type of thing, right? These are all lessons that Deck, the protagonist, begins to learn in the movie. He flies to another planet in search of the Kalisk, this big tough game that all other predators have not been able to conquer. But he meets another group of individuals, synthetic human beings from Earth, and the synthetic human beings have to deal with the alien universe, aliens, and the Wayland Corporation. Granted, another great movie is Alien versus Predator, in my estimation. Synthetic human beings from Earth are looking for the Kalisk, just like Yautja. Or the Yautja or Deck, our protagonist. And so first he wants to use these people as tools. He looks at using these synthetic human beings as tools. He has no need for them. He wants to be a solitary, isolated type of person. We've talked about that in this space, never having friends, never reaching out, trying to do everything alone. And I don't have a problem with, trying to put forth the best gumption and effort. But sometimes, as this movie tries to indicate, is that there's nothing wrong with reaching out to other people. He meets these synthetic human beings, at least one of them, synthetic beings, and then befriends it. First he wants to use it as a tool, then not. Next thing you know, he meets the child, what ends up being the child of the big, large Casilisk. I hope I'm saying that name, that thing right. Casilisk, I think. Anyway, this big monster thing, big animal thing. He meets the child, and he uses that. And once he uses up this thing, he then discards it, doesn't have any room for it. I'm a loner, I'm a self-sufficient person, this, that, and the other. So eventually, he comes around and understanding that other beings can be supportive and help him in his mission. They nicknamed the thing Bud, they being Deck, and the synthetic human being Thea, end up calling the baby or the child Bud, and he recognizes that Bud has some qualities that he can use, and not only use for his benefit, but besides that, there's a certain level of quote unquote humanity that they can get together with, and recognizes that everything isn't just a tool. This is probably a better way to say it. Recognize that everything isn't just a tool or means to your own selfish end, but other things and other beings and other creatures should have sympathy and have a life and experiences in all that. So another thing that I appreciated was, if you watch the Predator movies, they are often, as I talked about, given cloaks. I can't remember right. This is the second time I had to record this. I can't remember I talked about the cloaks. So that what they were looking for in their rite of passage was to get this cloak, this ability to turn invisible. But in order to get that, they had to hunt down and create their rite of passage, whatever that was. So before they would begin to, be on a journey, right? They would have all this high-tech, fancy gear, equipment that they would use to hunt down other things. And one thing I appreciated is that, just like the Jason Bourne movies and probably some other movies that I'm forgetting about, is, you can learn to use tools, but the best tool that you will ever be able to learn to use is your brain. The best tool that you'll ever be able to use is your brain. And, Jason Bourne was out there doing what he was doing, just his hands, feet, brains, an understanding of the environment and what assets and resources he could use. And so Deck had to use the same thing. All of his tools were gone. All of his weapons were gone. But that doesn't stop him. And in fact, one of the favorite lines that I said, that he said in the movie through their Yautja language was, "You give up too easily." You give up too easily. And so that was definitely something I think that should be recognized by people. We give up too easily. What are you when technology is removed? We're given this AI generation that we're living in right now. What are you? Who are you when technology is removed? When you, as I mentioned, I started this off talking about I started using a sander to take the popcorn ceiling on. I end up throwing that aside and just using hands and muscle, right? Elbow grease, as they used to call it. Some elbow grease, some try. So who are you when they take the phone away, take everything else away? You got to have your skill set. And my aunt used to tell me all that kind of stuff. My aunt, my grandmother, they could take everything away from you, take everything away from you, but they'll never take your education away from you. They'll never take that away from you. What your skill set, they'll never be able to take it away from you. So your brain. So develop your brain. Let that be the best tool that you can use. So, and then again, at the end of the story here was the idea about family. Tia was a synth who then wanted to have a sister. That sister was Tilly or some T's. I can't remember the sister's name. Another synth. But Tia began to develop human feelings and wanted a sister. Tia developed the feelings towards Bud and said it's more than just a tool. And so her constant chiding and correcting of Deck helped him to realize that beings are more than just tools. They are things or items that can be used. They are items that can be loved and have worth and value beyond their ability to help you do your job. They have feelings, they have emotions. Other beings have feelings and emotions and love, and they have concerns, and they get scared and fearful, and they deserve to be comforted and all that type of thing. So family is important. Tia helped Deck understand that. And Tia and Deck had family issues. He had problems with his dad. His dad wanted him killed. So, we all have a lot of us have daddy issues, mommy issues, family issues. But that shouldn't stop us from reaching our goals through tenacity, hard work, brain power. Yeah. And so, there was a reckoning coming, right? So there's a reckoning coming. So I enjoyed the movie. He ends up killing his prey, getting the Kalisk. He ends up getting the Kalisk, befriending and, taking under his wing and entering into a partnership and a clan with Bud, who was now growing into the next Kalisk, to the synth, helping her along her journey as well, because by helping others, you help yourself. By helping others, you help yourself. These are all stories and lessons we can be learning from Predator Badlands. So family is important. Tenacity is important. You learn to use your brain, understand, reckoning and the revenge and all that, and just keep going. Keep going. Family is important. Tenacity is important. The use of your brain is important. Who are you when everything is taken away from you? Technology, in particular, technology. Who are you? What are you without that? Without all of that. And so this was a great movie. Deck understood that his brain was the most important. His family was most important. Even though he had lost one family through his brother and his father through estrangement and through death, he developed new friends, new family, new clan. All great stuff. All great stuff. I enjoyed that movie tremendously. I just want to talk about, I'm not the greatest of reviewers here, but I want to talk about things that I took, and I think that men need to learn in this day and time, and that's the importance of family. Your family may forsake you. Your father may forsake you. My father may even try to harm you. Your mother may not have been there. May have been drug addicted. They may have been, just cruel people, but you can adopt other people. And you can turn your hard exterior about using other people. And if they don't mean any value to me, they don't have any physical value to me, then they're nothing. But you can change that hard exterior and then turn it into someone and something soft. And that's what Deck did. And he began to fight for other beings beside himself. He didn't let his physical limitations stop him. He was just as tenacious and didn't want to give up. And he went through the fire, went through all the stuff that he went through in order to become the best version of himself, and one who would stand by his friends. So I thought it was a great movie, fantastic action, great storyline, as I'm trying to identify here. And I would highly, highly recommend people go watch the movie. So that's just my thoughts, my opinions about this particular movie. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions, or any other themes that you think that I may have missed. And yeah, much love and peace.